Okay, so sometimes you might have the need of tweaking the selection elements of any of the specific element you touch the step onto. This is because some elements might be less unique than others. What to do in the case that you have a low score element and how can you increase it? So for this purpose, I just picked a step over here, which is this one, and as you can see, it simply selected. Let's reselect it again. We can do it from the reselect button here. I picked this 2 out of 5 score element, which it's not the most unique element, but let's say that we need to pick one of we must use this one because we really need to attach a step into this one. So how to improve it? Once you select it, first of all, it's a good case to test the reliability by just reloading the page and trying to make the step appear again. This is because sometimes in the case that you don't have anything to tweak on, it might still be reliable even though it has a lower score. So testing your journey, it's always fundamental to check the health of the elements on which you selected, on which you attached the bubbles onto the steps. So I'll just play it again. In this case, even though it's 2 out of 5 score, it's still reliable, but let's try to improve it together and see how we can improve it. So I need to click the edit button, and once I am in the bigger editor, I need to press the Selector Precision panel from here. So I click this one and this window will open. Now over this window you have all the elements that compose, or the attributes that we can get from this specific element. As you can see, we have a different we just have a variety of things to select and read over here. So let's go through each one together. First of all, most likely, if this is the first time that you are using the Selector Precision, you will have this advanced toggled off. This is because the advanced selector enables you to tweak also some other different parameters which we'll cover in this video. But let's start by having this toggled off. And as you can see, I do have an element ID which indicates which may be unique for some of the elements, but in this case most likely it's not unique, and this is probably the reason why I have a low score. As you can see, as soon as I hover any specific element over here, I also have the read more, which describes to me the kind of element that we are analyzing. So in this case, the ID selector, as it says over the tip there, it's usually a good selector, but sometimes you may have element IDs which are dynamic. How do we recognize these kind of dynamic elements? It kind of comes also by intuition. If you see numbers or codes or something which is a bit more like doesn't feel something that might be very constant over time. So if you have like some specific name such as form, this means that most likely this is a very static element ID, but you may have, let's say, some code number which might be like 2, 6, 7, 8 and hashtag and some strange characters. That might mean that it's dynamically generated, and most likely next time that you reload the page, this will appear again. This will appear different, sorry. Hence, we should avoid to use the element IDs which are something which have some dynamic element IDs. If you, by the way, you can also click over the read more link here, which can bring you to our knowledge base, in which we we dive a bit more in depth for each element, for each value that we have here, and we explain how to best recognize them. The other one that we see here are element attributes. Now, as you can see, we have a series of elements inside here, a series of attributes, which some of them are already selected, and this is where we are basing by default the selection. But we might also test and select other things to improve this score. So in this case, we might have some element attributes which we can use in addition to whatever has already been selected to improve the selection. So I would personally use here these onSubmit element attributes, which is a function of the element on which we attached, and as you can see, as soon as I give this additional information or select it, it will give me a better score. So this is not always the case. Each item might have a different logic, hence it might have different parameters which might be unique and reliable for the target application on which you're building content. And as you know, these kind of elements might be different from each target application. So it's always good to also check with your IT that might have more knowledge about the application on if there's some very unique element or attribute related to your application. But we also offer a service in which we do a target application profiling, which is essentially consists of analyzing with you the components and understanding which are the most problematic elements and how to regulate around that. So if you're interested about this kind of service, please contact us, and we can discuss on how to proceed. So in this case, we just improved the element by just selecting another element attribute which was turned off. You may have also the case where element IDs and element attributes might be not good enough. So you may have every single element over here which might not suffice for your rules, for Newired rules to attach the step to be reliable. So let's suppose that we have these turned off. Of course, the detection criteria will be very weak. What can we do in these kind of cases? If there's need of actually attaching here some element without having to use element IDs and element attributes, you can also toggle on the Advanced Selector Precision and check to use the XPath or CSS selector. By the way, also here you have a read more, which gives you additional information, as you can see. Now, what XPath does is essentially it will describe the position in the relation of the page of the element. And these two, the CSS selector does essentially the same thing, but in a different language. And what these two do, why do we have these in the advanced section and always turned off? This is because most of the times these parameters are the most unreliable of the bunch that we have. And but of course you can understand by testing if these change too. So in the case that you don't have any other elements, we suggest you to test with the XPath or CSS, and so select these kind of things, and you see it already got higher because now we are using both XPath and CSS. It may not be enough. Most likely you may have some form or element attributes too, but it will give you at least some general position to the page, which might still increase the chances of having this found for the selection. So if you are in the need to use these, I suggest you to use these things, but at least still test together the whole journey and to check if the step fails or not. We do have other kinds of elements or of parameters